So it's that time of year, Halloween, and I thought I would show you a very, very simple, pretty successful with all levels art project. So it's a watercolor background with black marker or Sharpie. I like Sharpie because it's really bright. Cat, Halloween cat. Although, I mean, really, it doesn't have to just be Halloween, but for our purposes, seeing as how Halloween is right around the corner, that's what we're gonna do. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our watercolor paper and we're gonna find like the side that has more bumps, and I just kind of do that with my hand. Although if you have really good watercolor paper, you can just see that one side is bumpier, but kind of hard to do on video. So we're gonna take our watercolor paper and we're gonna put it portrait or up and down. I call it hamburger, not hot dog, hamburger. And what we're gonna do first is we're gonna wet the page with just water. No color, just water. We're gonna wet it, go side to side with your water, and you're gonna get your page nice and wet, not soaking, just wet. This does not take long. Look how fast I'm going. You probably can't even see that I'm getting it wet, but I promise you, I am. Okay, see how fast? Side to side. Just going in the water with my paintbrush, getting my page nice and wet, and that just kind of preps the paper for the color. Now, you really can use any colors besides black. Don't use black, because then your black marker wouldn't show up on the page. You can really use any colors, but because it's Halloween, we're gonna use orange and yellow. So I'm gonna go into my orange first, and I see how I go into the water, and then into my orange paint, and I get it nice and wet in there. Nice and wet. So I don't have to worry about it. And then I'm gonna say, keep the side to side stroke. I like to start at the top. I'm gonna go side to side. You don't have to fill the whole page. Nice and wet, side to side. See how I'm leaving spaces in between? I need a little bit more water, I can tell. My paintbrush always stays nice and wet. I don't want to work with a dry paintbrush. It is watercolor, so it should be wet. Maybe one more. We can always go back into the orange. Then I'm going to go into my yellow, and I do yellow last, not first, because I want it to stand out, and yellow just gets eaten up by all the other colors. So I'm really going in there. Can you see? Here, I'm getting it nice and wet, and I'm going to go right in those spots where there's no orange, and I'm going to put my yellow. And do you see how I'm still going side to side? I'm not switching directions. Always going side to side. Nice and watery. And I don't want to blend it too much. I want my colors to kind of bleed together, so it almost looks as if it's like a sunset, right? And I've done this art project too with purples and blues, and it comes out cool as well. It makes it more look like nighttime as opposed to sunset, or maybe sunrise possibly, right? Depending on when your Halloween cat is out and about. Nice and watery. All the way, I fill the whole page. If you have any like white spots, it's okay, it kind of adds to it a little bit, but you want the most of it to be orange and yellow. And if for some reason you did too much yellow and you want more orange, guess what? Easy peasy. You just go right back in. And if it's too much, I don't like the lines like that, so I can go back into my water and just kind of side to side. But my paintbrush always stays nice and wet. I always tell my students, your paintbrush should look calm. It should never look like there's no water on it. Your paintbrush should never look like this. Like it looks like it's freaking out, right? Like it's scared. No, your paintbrush should always look nice and calm. Bristles all together, right? So I like my page. It's nice and covered. I kind of like the swirly action that's going on in the middle of this. It looks really cool. So now what you would do is you'd put this aside and you'd wait for it to dry. So, but by the magic the internet, mine has dried. It's actually a separate sheet of paper, right? Now what we're gonna do now is we're gonna draw the cat, and I'm gonna put the cat up there so you can kind of keep an idea. Maybe I'll put it right here. I can go side, right next to it. We'll draw like a friendship cats here. Now it looks, when you look at the end result of the cat, it looks like it could be complicated, but you know, when you break it down, it becomes really simple. So here we go, ready? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're going to decide which way we want our paper to go, and I actually like it perfectly the way it is, but sometimes you might want it this way. You could even maybe do it this way, but I like it this way. It keeps with the sunset idea. Now our first shape is going to be the body of the cat, and it starts from the bottom in the middle, okay? So you're going to go in the middle of the page, start from the bottom, and you're going to go up, around, and down. Whoa, that's gonna be a big cat, but that's okay. Doesn't have to be that big, but I made mine nice and big. So that's the body of the cat, up, around, and down, like a horseshoe shape. Then we're gonna draw the head, and it's just a circle on top of the shape that we drew. Now you wanna keep in mind that you don't want the head too small, because then it's going to look silly, and you don't want it too big, because then it would look extra silly, right? So I'm going to go right about here, and I'm going to draw a circle. Whoa, that might be kind of big, but maybe not. We'll find out at the end. Because we're going to end up coloring this whole thing in black, all inside of here. Then our cat has pointed ears, so on either side of where we drew, we're going to draw upside down V's, or triangles if you will, for our cat ears. And then inside the face we want our cat eyes, and you want these to be fairly big because you can see they really stand out on the finished product. So if you make them too small, you can't see the background, and that's kind of where it gives its spooky cat eye look. So I'm going to put them in the middle of the head, and I'm going to make sure I have plenty of room for both eyes. And I'm going to make a curve, like a rainbow for one, and then the other eye is going to be right next to it, another curve, similar in size. And then you're going to curve the opposite direction for the bottom, like a smile. It looks like a smile, but it's actually the bottom of the eye. And then the same thing here. Nice and big. It almost looks silly big at this point, but it won't when it's done. And then cats have slits for their pupils. You can go ahead and draw that in. Not round, almost straight up and down, leaving plenty of room to see the orange and yellow in the background. Okay, then we're going to move down and we're going to do the hind legs. You can't see the front legs because they're all in shadow, so we're just going to show the hind legs, and it looks as though it's like half of a heart on either side. So I'm going to start not halfway on the body, just down a little bit, like a third of the way, and I'm just going to start here, and I'm going to curve up, out, and down. There's one hind leg. And then I'm going to go directly across to the other side. And I'm going to go up, out, and down. You see how I said it kind of looks like half a heart? It does. Really, when it's not colored in, it looks like a heart for sure. Now our cat's going to have a curvy tail. I mean, you could make the tail however you wanted. Mine just has one little curve, like a candy cane almost. And I did it on this side, but of course, it's totally fine to have it go on either side of the cat. So if there's more room on one side, just for space, you do it on the side that has more room. So on this side, there's more over here. So I'm going to draw the inside of the tail. Watch. I'm just going to draw the shape of it, not worrying about how thick it is at this point. I'm going to go out, go around and curve, and if you want to make it extra loopy, you go ahead and do that. It's kind of how I want my tail. You can make it straight if you want, up and down. You can make a big tail. And then the last lines I'm going to do are the whiskers. So I'm going to do 3. They're going to come from the middle, like where the nose would be, right? And they're going to come out. They can kind of curve too if you want them to. But do you see how I started in the face and I came out? Because lots of people put their whiskers out here, but it looks better if you start in the middle of the face. Now the last step is all you need to do is color it in. You're just going to color in all of it except for the inside of the eyes. So not in there, okay? And you're just going to go right over your eyes. And I switched my marker just so it would go faster for us, but you can stay with a Sharpie. These markers are thicker. And do you see how I'm just coloring right over the lines? I'm not worried about it. When I get down to the eyes, I like to go around them just to make sure that I do not color inside, because it'll lose that spooky. Oh, now it looks really spooky. I'm just going to color it in. When you get down to the whiskers, you're just going to color right over the whiskers. You do not have to go around them. Although my marker seems to be running out of steam, so to say. And I'm going right over the lines, not worrying. My marker is running out of steam, but luckily, look, I got another one. Sometimes markers run out when they're going on watercolor. Even though this watercolor page is dry, definitely make sure your watercolor page is dry before you attempt to draw on it. And my cat head looks pretty good. I mean, I might go back over it and get all the little nooks and crannies, although I kind of like it. I've done this with oil pastel too, and it looks really good. Messier, of course, but it still looks real good. Okay, so when you get to the tail, all you've got to do with the tail, and I'm turning my page. I like to turn my page when I'm doing art. All you have to do is just go right over. Oh, I picked up the wrong marker again. Oh, marker. I'll just go to my Sharpie. When all else fails. So I'm just going right on over the line, just to make my tail of my cat a little bit thicker. Not so much like a string. And then, of course, cats' tails get thicker when it gets to the body. Does that look pretty thick? Oh my god, my cat looks like a little scrangly here, huh? That's okay. And I'm coloring. And that's about it. You can go back up and touch up any of the little spots you see. But that is our spooky Halloween cat, although it's cute enough to do any time of year, really. So have fun, and as always, happy arting.